Praise be Jesus Christ. Some of us have a little agreement. It's that when we get to heaven, if we get to heaven, because it's not for sure, Jesus said, whoever perseveres to the end will be saved. So we have to persevere to the end. But the agreement is, if you get to heaven and I get to heaven, we're going to have a drink together at that heavenly banquet. Now, we know, of course, heaven will be wonderful beyond our wildest imagination. But one of the most common images in Scripture for heaven is this heavenly banquet where there will be fine wines. So fine, sign me up, I'll take it. When you get to heaven, when I get to heaven, by the grace of God, we'll have a drink together. Now, I've always felt a little bad that I kind of look forward to heaven so much. It almost seems like, am I allowed to think of the things of heaven, to dream of the things of heaven? Well, I think I got my answer in the Liturgy of the Hours. Saint Bernard, on the Feast of All Saints, he's talking about the glory of the saints in heaven. And he says, but I tell you, when I think of them, the saints, I feel myself inflamed by a tremendous yearning. Calling the saints to mind inspires, or rather arouses in us, above all else, a longing to enjoy their company, so desirable in itself. And he just goes on describing this, and he says, do not imagine that there is anything harmful in such an ambition. So if you're longing, if the heart's deepest desire is just to be with the God who made you in heaven, to be with all the saints and the angels, to be in the place of joy and peace that you were made for, to enjoy your homeland, because Scripture says our citizenship is in heaven. If that's your longing, if that's what you pine for in this life, you don't need to be ashamed of that. That's what the Liturgy of the Hours, the liturgy of the Church tells us. That's what St. Bernard, Doctor of the Church, tells us. Now, the next day, on November 1st, the Feast of All Souls, in the reading from St. Ambrose, let me just read to you the first couple lines. He says, we see that death is gain, life is loss. Paul says, for me life is Christ and death is gain. What does Christ mean but to die in the body and receive the breath of life? Let us then die with Christ to live with Christ. And this is the line I want to highlight. We should have a daily familiarity with death, a daily desire for death. Now, this doesn't mean that we need to be kind of, down and wishing we die in the negative sense. No, this means that the idea of being called home to heaven, the thought that one day we will have to leave this earth to, God willing, spend eternity in the place we were made for, this longing should be on our minds and hearts daily. The thought that, yes, one day I'll be home should be our great joy, our great longing. So, just also St. Anthony of the Desert, I don't know how many of you are familiar with him, great founder of monasticism, super holy guy. That's what he instructed his disciples. He said, listen, think about heaven all the time. Viva Cristo Rey.